We all know that the internet is full of hot takes and random advice, and it's tough to know who to trust. I can confidently say that I've seen majority of people win using the same tried and true financial advice. Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Rachel Cruze Show podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. So in this episode, we'll chat about the most valuable lessons I have learned about budgeting. Then I'll talk through how to decipher and tackle your financial goals. But first, let's talk about if money can really buy your happiness. Take a listen. Well, hey, you guys, a recent survey found that on average, Americans need to make $105,000 per year in order to be happy. And I'll be honest, I was a little bit shocked. I was like, all right, okay. One thing I love about my job is that I get to talk to people each week on the Ramsey show who are making progress financially. And there's not a lot of them that are earning six figures, but this study might be onto something because the question is, can money really buy happiness? So today, let's take a look at what it costs to live happily in the US and beyond. And at the end of this episode, I'll be responding to a list of things that people claim actually buy them happiness. So I'll have you stick around and see if you agree. All right, first and foremost, can you guess which country has the highest salary threshold on earth? AKA, which country requires the most amount of money in order to be happy? Well, my mind immediately went to America, honestly, but it's actually Iran. On average, Iranian people claim that they need to earn $239,700 in order to live happily. That's almost $250,000 a year. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the lowest salary threshold was just $8,658 in Sierra Leone. So clearly, depending on where you're located, the resources, the cultural norms that you're in, there's very obvious reasons for this. So if you are a Vol fan, you're going to love this next stat because according to this survey, Knoxville, Tennessee is the U.S. city with the lowest salary expectations in terms of happiness. That is where Winston is from. Oh my gosh. So people in Knoxville say that they need to make $88,000 to live happily. And that's still, pretty high by some comparisons. But you know what? The Vols, I lived there, you guys, all through college. And I moved after graduation. 4 years of Rachel. Maybe that's why I'm just so content, It's just the old Knoxville rubbing off on me. I'm just kidding. But listen, there is no one's surprise that the U.S. city with the highest cost of happiness happens to be in California. And apparently in Santa Barbara, residents need to make almost $163,000 a year to feel fulfilled. And honestly, that's not as high as I probably would have guessed because I feel like Southern California, it's bougie and it's very expensive. But now let's put some of those numbers to the test and talk about the four walls and the expenses that everyone needs to have to be able to maintain life. So if you're not familiar with the four walls, this is what they are: food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. These are things you have to have. So here's what that looks like. The average salary in Knoxville is $50,000, so almost $100,000 lower than the national average. The average home price is $320,000. The median housing cost per month is $975. Groceries, transportation, and utility costs combined are about 20% below the national average. In Santa Barbara, on the other end of the spectrum, obviously much higher. Typical home costs around $1.5 million, which is 351% more expensive than the national average and 108% more expensive than the average California home, which costs around $733,000. So renting a two-bedroom unit in Santa Barbara costs you about $3,280 per month. Now, let's just pretend this person has a roommate. You cut that in half, and that's basically what some of my Nashville friends are paying for rent these days. All right, enough with all the numbers. Let's get to the real question. Can money buy happiness? Like we already discussed, the four walls, there are certain things that humans need to have in order to feel comfortable, to feel safe, to feel provided for. And being able to afford these necessary things definitely plays a part in regulating your emotions and things like happiness. But the other side of the spectrum is, again, where you always just want more, need more, buy more, and you just keep at it. And no matter how much money you have, emotions are always temporary, and happiness, it doesn't stay possible all the time. So according to science, there comes a point where making more money literally cannot make you any happier. So with that in mind, let's talk about what needs to be true for you financially in order to thrive in any part of the world, making any level of income. So when it comes to taking control of your money, of course, I love the baby steps where you're able to save up an emergency fund, pay off debt, have a fully funded emergency fund, start funding retirement, kids' college, paying your house off early, building wealth, and being generous. Like all of that gets you in control. Even a budget month to month where you're tracking your spending, you're being very intentional with where your income's going. That is so key, okay? So that is part, I think, of that foundation of getting you to a place where you feel in control. All right, now let's have a little bit of fun. We pulled some people on social and asked them to share small expenses that genuinely bring them joy and are always worth the money. So I'll respond to a few of these. And if you have one in mind that I don't cover, drop the answer in the comments because we want to hear. All right, here's what people said. Name brand toothpaste, Sonic Diet Cokes, Laneige lip balm, which I have that. It's like a lip mask. It is fantastic. Getting my hair blown out once a week, and I would choose this over manicures and pedicures. If it's in the budget, it makes my life easier. Spotify Premium. This was the number one answer submitted, which I think is so fascinating. High quality ink pens. Okay, I get that. There's something about a good pen. Friday afternoon gas station visits with the kids. They each have $5 to spend, and it brings them so much joy. That's fun. Bougie coffee creamer. Parchment paper pre-cut sheets. Okay. Volcano candles. And shelled pistachios. Buy back your time. So good. Okay, like I always say, money is a tool. Money just makes you more of what you already are. Money is there to create a life that you love. So can money buy you things in your life that makes it easier or temporary joy, but that doesn't necessarily fulfill you long-term when it comes to your emotions or your relationships or your spirituality? I would agree with all of that. Plus, if you're consistently using money as a Band-Aid, then you miss all of the character transformation that happens when you build wealth the right way. So if the phrase living paycheck to paycheck hits home for you right now, I really would encourage you to check out Every Dollar. This is where you can set up a monthly budget and really get in control of your money. And it's really the best first step to take to have financial peace, which is always better than just temporary happiness, right? You can buy something real quick and it'll be great. But this long-term sustaining motion with your money, you have to be in control, you guys. And that's where you have to put some good habits in place, like following the baby steps, doing a monthly budget. All of this will give you that foundation that those little fun perks here or there are great, but won't sustain you long-term. So I want this to be a marathon for you with your money and not a sprint. Hey guys, it's Rachel Cruz here to tell you about a faith-based alternative to health insurance that can make healthcare more affordable. Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM allows members to share each other's healthcare costs, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1, choose the healthcare provider you want. Step 2, submit your eligible bills. And step 3, get reimbursed. CHM members take care of your eligible medical bills. With no networks and the freedom to choose your healthcare provider, CHM is the best option for Christians who want to take care of their families and help other believers. Find out more at chministries.org/budget. What is one thing that you would say you're an expert in? So for some of my friends, it's cooking, or Winston, it's real estate, or he loves the yard and gardening and all that. For me, I'm going to say it's budgeting. For 15 years now, I have used a monthly budget and taught people how to track their spending so that they can reach their financial goals. So today I'm sharing with you the 5 most valuable lessons that I've learned from budgeting. And stick around for number 5 because it's probably the most unexpected piece of advice, but it's by far the most effective. So the first lesson that I've learned might be the most obvious if you've heard me talk on the show, but that is tracking your spending. So listen, I was not the most high-tech person. And back when I started budgeting, there wasn't a lot of options except for Excel and a sheet of paper. And that's what Winston and I used. We literally used a sheet of paper. But now tracking your spending, it's so much more glamorous. So listen, it is important to remember that a budget isn't something you just create at the beginning of the month and you never look at it again. You have to take it a step further and actually track each and every expense and where it's going. So the goal is for you to know your spending tendencies on a deeper level. And this is going to allow you to justify and feel confident about purchases that you actually need, and also eliminate unnecessary purchases so that your money can be put to better use. So if this feels like a tedious, detail-oriented task, it might at the beginning, and that's normal. It's okay. It's going to take a little bit of time and effort and compromise in the beginning, especially if you're doing this with your spouse, if someone else is involved in your budget. But I can promise you this, once you get in the habit and you start tracking your spending, your discipline increases, communication in your marriage increases, and eventually your margin increases so you can start tackling more of your money goals that are important to you. So, like I said, tracking your spending is insanely easy now with the EveryDollar app. So, EveryDollar Premium, it attaches to your bank account, and you go through, and every day I open it, and there's like a little bubble that pops up, and it's like 4 transactions. You click on it, you drag and drop it to the category that's necessary, and then you see how much money is left in the category, and it just helps you keep track of what's going on. The second lesson that I learned after 15 years of budgeting has to do with a very specific category, and that is the miscellaneous category. So there are so many different theories on the internet when it comes to budgeting, what you need to do here, or percentages, or what categories should be there, and all of this. But I can just tell you, there is an absolute must-have category, and that is the miscellaneous category. And just because I love zero-based budgeting, aka giving every dollar a name, doesn't mean that I want you to have $0 in your bank account, okay? So it's not like you're getting down to zero in your bank account, but it's this idea that you are able to track where your money's going. But as we all know, life happens and stuff is going to come up. And if it doesn't fit into a category, you're like, oh God, what do I do? That's where the miscellaneous category comes in. So I recommend taking at least 5% of your take-home pay and categorizing a miscellaneous category for that, because it's random, unexpected expenses. So whether, again, you're having to get a babysitter last minute, or you have a friend's baby shower and you're getting a gift and you need a little bit more cushion for it than you realized, that's where the miscellaneous category comes in. And the great thing about budgeting in general is that budgeting gives you permission to spend. So you don't have this guilt or frantic credit card charge last minute that you're going to be thinking about. You just put it in the miscellaneous category and keep on moving. The third thing that I've learned about budgeting is that your budget is going to be different every single month. So my family's expenses in December are not the same as my family's expenses in February. And this is another great thing about budgeting in the EveryDollar app, is because it's so easy to adjust things on the fly that need to be modified. So for example, in this month, all of our kids' summer camp fees were due. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I don't know if this is where you live. Everyone does it in like January and February. I'm like, I don't know what's going to be going on in June. Oh my gosh. But there we are, signing up for camps. Or maybe you have a month and there's so many birthdays maybe in your family, or your kids keep getting invited to birthday parties and it's their best friend, so they got to go, so you got to get a gift. Like whatever it is, every month is going to look different. And so you want to be able to pivot for different seasons. So in the EveryDollar app, it duplicates month to month. So Winston and I, majority of our expenses are consistent month to month. But then at the very bottom, there'll always be probably 6 to 7 categories that we add and change because of the seasonality of where our family's at. All right, the fourth lesson that I've learned after a decade and a half of budgeting is arguably the most powerful game changer when it comes to the momentum of your progress. And this is something that sounds arbitrary, but it's really important when it comes to building wealth. And that is working towards a specific financial goal. So budgeting can only go so far if you don't have intentionality and purpose behind it. But how do you know what you should be working towards? So a lot of it boils down to the baby steps. So again, if you're saving up that $1,000 emergency fund, you're going to take your budget and you're going to see, where can I cut areas? How much income do I need to add to get my goal of getting that $1,000? Or you're paying off debt the same way. Where can we cut? Extra money is going to be going towards the debt. You're using your budget as a tool to help you hit those financial goals. So if you tackle, those specific things throughout the baby steps in an order, you're making progress. And now for the fifth and final lesson that I learned, and probably maybe the weirdest pieces of advice, but I think it's key because I believe in this tip so much that I made a specific product for handling this habit. And that is lesson 5. Cash out the budget categories that you tend to overspend in. So especially if you are new to budgeting, okay, this is really key. That means you're going to take categories in your budget that you tend to overspend. So a lot of people, that's food, maybe that's clothes. That could be your miscellaneous category that we talked about earlier. Whatever it is, make sure to cash those out, and then you want to divide them into different categories. So you can even take an envelope if you want and write restaurants on it. Or you could use my personal favorite, the Rachel Cruz wallet, because I made it directly for this whole thing because I'm like, I want you to be able to carry cash around, be intentional with these categories, and for it to be cute. So I think the envelope system is great. And again, if you are early on in budgeting, this is one of the best things that you can do because it keeps you accountable. When you only have cash, studies show you think twice about spending, you actually end up spending less, and you know where your money's going. And it may be, at times it's going to take some extra effort. It may not be very convenient. And listen, we love Apple Pay, but just try it for a season and see what happens to actually watch your money leave. It's really powerful. Well, hey, you guys, I know investing can be really confusing and there's so much information out there. And have you ever wondered, how much should I invest and where? Is my 401k set up in a way that's going to be able to achieve my retirement dream? Well, if those questions are out there, you are not alone. And having a solid investment plan that you're confident in will help you make the right decisions. That's why I want to tell you about a 2-night virtual event that's coming up. It's called Dave Ramsey's Investing Essentials. On May 21st and 22nd, Dave will unpack everything that you need to know when it comes to investing and retirement, from 401ks and mutual funds to real estate. You can even watch it anywhere you are, even submit questions for Dave to answer live. You guys, investing is one of the most powerful tools for wealth building, so you need to be doing this. If you are debt-free and have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, then you need to buy your ticket today. It's $249, so buy it today at RamseySolutions.com/invest with confidence. Do you ever feel confused about the goals that you should be working towards financially? Or maybe having money goals has never even crossed your mind? Well, either way, we all know that the internet is full of hot takes and random advice, and it's tough to know who to trust. After over a decade in the personal finance industry, I can confidently say that I've seen majority of people win using the same tried and true financial advice. So no matter your income level, debt level, marital status, savings progress, these steps work for everyone. So today, I'm walking you through the proven plan so that you can figure out exactly where to start. And stick around till the end because I'll share my number 1 non-negotiable money goal that everyone should be working towards no matter their status. So first, let me just address the elephant in the room. Is it really that big of a deal that we should always be working towards a financial goal? I'm going to say, in my opinion, yes. I think that there is so much power in working towards something. So money aside, just the integrity and the strength of character that you build when you push yourself and lean into discomfort is priceless. And from a financial standpoint, there is so much data out there that proves being intentional with your money, no matter what level you're on financially, is the secret to gaining momentum in your wealth building journey. So again, you guys, being intentional with your money, it is so, so key. Now, there will be seasons that you're more intense, some seasons not, but always having that forward progress, I think, is so important. And so, like I said, there are 7 steps, we call them the Ramsey baby steps, that allow you to take full control over your money, your building wealth goals, achieving financial peace, all of it. So these are steps that actually my dad, Dave Ramsey, created, and realizing that walking people through not just a set of principles, because principles are important, but actual steps where you can see progress is really, really key to winning with money, because so much of money is behavior change. And when you know that you're doing something and checking something off the list of like, I did step 1, I did step 2, there's something in us that keeps us moving forward in that. Now let's go through those steps in order so that you can figure out exactly where you fall. So step 1 is to save $1,000 emergency fund. So again, starter emergency fund. This is not your forever emergency fund, but it's to get you started. Now, some people complain that $1,000 isn't enough, and at times it's not. So that means you will have to pause your other financial goals at times when you're paying off debt, especially to save up more money to bump up that emergency fund if you need it. But that's what's key, is that it should kind of drive you to be paying off debt, because that's step number 2. But if you try to pay off debt without an emergency fund, then you'll end up going back in debt if something happens. And then also, some people want a bigger emergency fund, and it takes you longer to be building up cash for an emergency fund while you're still paying out all this debt and all this interest. So it's easier just to get a quick start on debt and free up that income, because that's where you're going to see progress. So again, starter emergency fund. Step 1 is $1,000. Step 2 is paying off all of your debt but your mortgage. So this is going to include student loans, credit card debt, car payments, personal loans. Anything that is revolved around debt except for your mortgage is in this process. So you're going to list out all of your debt, smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate, pay minimum payments on everything, and attack the smallest one first. Once that's paid off, you're going to be able to take the payments that you're paying on that, roll it over to the second smallest debt. So it keeps freeing up, again, these payments, and you're able to build momentum, and it creates a snowball effect. Okay, once that is all done, then you can move on to step 3, and you're going to bump up that starter emergency fund to 3 to 6 months of expenses. And you can do this in a high-yield savings account, but the idea here is you don't want to invest this account. You want to be able to get to it if you need it. So if a job loss happens, medical emergency, you have a lot of money saved in the bank just for emergencies. Okay, this is, I think, a big accomplishment. Once you get past baby step 3, you are completely debt-free but your house, and you have money saved in the bank already. That is a massive financial milestone that I think you really do feel in so much of your life. You feel so much peace. And again, it is so necessary to keep going, right? We don't want to slow down. But in those 3 steps, you guys, it is full intensity. And then once you complete those 3 steps, the next steps, again, we say you can take your foot off the gas a little bit, and it's more, okay, we're still going to work towards some things, but you don't have to be that intense. So step 4 is to save 15% of your income into retirement. So there's different ways you can do this, but always remember this. Match beats Roth beats traditional. So let's say you have 15% of your income and your company matches 5%. You'll take part of that 15%, 5% of it, put it into your 401k. That means you have 10% left. Then I would go and fund a Roth IRA. If you max it out with 10% that's left and you have 2% left, then go back to your 401k and you can fund that. But those are 2 great options, a 401k or a 403b. And a Roth IRA. So be looking into those because, again, I think it's key. And if you want to check out our investment calculator at RamseySolutions.com, plug in some numbers and just see what compound interest does. It's a beautiful thing. All right, step 5 is to save for your kids' college. And so if you have kids, again, this is something that you can start doing and working towards, because so many students have to take out student loans. And if you're a parent, that is a gift. It is not a requirement, but a gift to be able to help your kids when it comes to college. So putting money in a 529 account, I think, is great, or an ESA, an educational savings account. But you can sit down with a SmartVestor Pro when it comes to your retirement and kids' college and really map it out. And so, again, being able to set your kids up, I think, is such a gift when it comes to their education. All right, step 6 is paying the house off early. So what you're going to see is you're going to be doing retirement, kids' college, and then anything else you have extra, just be throwing at the house. So you'll do 4, 5, and 6 at the same time. And this is one of those things that, man, you just keep moving at it. But when you're paying off your house and you pay off your house early at step 6, it is one of the most underrated things that you can do to increase your net worth and find a lot of peace. And on average, we have found that people working the baby steps pay off their homes in just over 11 years. So if you have completed all 5 steps, and usually that takes around 2, 3, 4 years to do, the rest of it, people are paying off their houses. So could you imagine not having a mortgage for 30 years, but for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years? It's amazing, absolutely amazing. So being able to take advantage of that, paying your house off, it's an incredible thing. And then once that's done, all that's left is baby step 7, to build wealth and give. So giving is part of your entire financial journey, regardless of where you are. I always say give a little until you can give a lot. But at baby step 7, that's when you get to increase and you get to be extremely generous, because all you're doing is funding investments and enjoying life and giving money away. And that's what you have left to do. And it's just wonderful. So no matter how many people tell you on the internet that your financial goals are dependent on your age, on your income, your geographic location, The truth is, it really has to start with you deciding to make progress. Now, do those things factor in? Absolutely. But this idea that you have the ability to take control of your money is huge. So use the baby steps, you guys. It is a proven plan to be able to get control of your money, get out of debt, save for the future, and all of it. So it's easier said than done. You're the one that actually has to make the progress, but you can do it. We see people every single day that are deciding, I'm going to take control of my money, because that's what I believe is so important, and that you can do it. Financial goals, regardless of where you are, is so key. Be working towards something, that intentionality. Oh, it's so important. All right, if you love this show, make sure to leave a review, because your feedback, it helps us out so much. And while you're at it, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends, with your family, and help them know how to live within a budget. All right, you guys, thanks for listening. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.